So how does social media fit into your strategy in regards to business development?
Well, it really started, so I'm in New York State and we had a very sort of strict approach to COVID. And so one day I'm sitting in my law practice, I'm watching sort of the whole COVID situation unfold. And our governor basically says if you have a business, close it and go home with an indefinite, no one knew when you were coming back. And I said to myself, if I come out of this thinking that the same marketing tools that we used before COVID will hold the day, we are wrong. I'm going to die on the vine. So I started making videos giving my clients, the goal initially was to give my clients and the community updates about the court system through video and how the court system was being affected by COVID. My first video I put on my law firm's website, and one of my partners said something about it, not negative, but just said something about it. And then it hit me, the first video, don't ever do it again on the firm's website. So it's mine. I pay for it. I own it. It's my name. Now, that's not to say I don't ever mention the law firm, although I rarely do. It's my brand, and then no one else can say anything about it. And if they do say something about it, then I can make a decision about how I want to handle it, either deal with it or walk away. But it's been a wild ride. It's not easy. It's time consuming. And part of my success again is like actually delivering on the deliverable, which is the law practice and the settlements and the verdicts. So it's hard. I find it to be expensive because at first I was trying to edit it myself, and then I'm like, well, I'm not doing the law work. So I hired, and now I have multiple people. You're juggling, you're spending a lot of money, but I believe in it and I believe in it for this reason. Because when I go out to buy gas or to the farmer's market or to the bank, people say, hey, I saw your video, or hey, I love your videos. And even though the likes or the engagement may not be on the videos, and sometimes that's disheartening, I know it's working because when I go grab drinks with my buddies, they're all busting my chops for making all these videos, right? And the community sees them, and I know it. It's a branding campaign for me. I do very little paid advertising, and I'm going to start ramping that up now because I think that is like my shortcoming in the whole process. But for me, it's a branding campaign. It also is a hobby. Again, during COVID, things slowed down, not in terms of workload, but I couldn't move my cases because court was closed. So it became a hobby. And I enjoy it. I believe in the mission. My mission is to educate people about personal injury law. I rarely talk about anything else. Maybe a little bit of criminal law because I do that too. But, I stay in my lane. I'm a Gary Vee fan. Probably you may be as well. That's probably why you're in part doing this. And Gary Vee, suggests you shouldn't talk about things that you don't know, and I don't do that. I do one thing, and sometimes I think I pay the price on engagement or views or likes, whatever, but I stay true to what I know and who I am.
Well, on the counter to that, I think the material that you put out is stronger, right? There's more depth to it. Even watching it, I can tell that you're really an expert on these topics, and it's not like moonlighting on a random trend or something. It's really focused in. And I wanted to kind of just break this down, and just so for our audience, you talked about a team. So what you have an editor. What's the team composition look like to do this quality work?
Well, my team has changed over time. At first, I hired my cousin who was very part-time, and we would struggle to get one video out a day, and we would do it, in the 10 minutes between a deposition and a court conference, and it was totally chaotic. And now I have a bigger team. Still, everyone is part-time. I have 2 people that work directly for me, and then I subcontract out certain work. And that's still evolving. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out what works well. The platforms are constantly changing. You might get in a groove on something, and then the platform changes, so then you run over here and try that. We're a little scattered, but we're trying to tighten things up. I spend a lot of money on it, so And I know a lot of people who do a very good job and don't spend a lot of money on it. But I want to be a lawyer. Like that's why I'm doing the social media, is to succeed as a lawyer. And so I feel like if I switch the two and spend too much time or too many resources or dollars on the social media, I will lose myself as a lawyer, and that's not what I want. I want to be a lawyer first, and I want a team that supports me, and so we're moving toward that goal. I'm spending a lot of money doing it. I'm incredibly grateful that I have a thriving law practice, and I do very well. And as a family, my wife and I decided, like, we're going to dedicate. It's okay. We're going to dedicate a certain amount of my income because we believe in the mission.
Yeah, and I think I saw a video on TikTok about you being vulnerable, saying, like, hey, I just want to be a lawyer. I don't want to do HR. I don't want to do payroll. And you mentioned some of these things on TikTok, and I was like, that's pretty great to see, because everyone talks about the benefits and the job and the glory, but you're kind of being vulnerable, talking about what you didn't like, but what's necessary.
Yeah, well, I think so. This past week we were talking about, like, well, who am I as a brand, right? And authenticity is one of those things. So we've been sharing some vulnerable moments, and to all the young people out there who are thinking about going to law school, or who are in law school thinking about how they want to spend their careers. I didn't know this when I came back home to work in a small town. And work in a small practice, but I'm an entrepreneur, and I didn't know that until I reflected on it looking backwards. And so it can be a challenge to juggle all of these things. I don't think being a trial lawyer is for the faint of heart, and I don't think running a busy personal injury law practice with just 5 lawyers and 12 staff is for the faint of heart either. And then bring in the social media team, which is my team, working sort of in the home of the law practice. There's a lot of personalities to juggle, and so it's a lot. It can be stressful. I happen to be sort of like a type A, and handle stress well, and I thank God for that, because otherwise I'd either be 6 feet under or in a mental institution by now. But
yeah, so I mean, I think that it is part of the life of being an entrepreneur, is juggling a lot of things at once and handling the stress. And the other thing, I just want to focus in on this question, and I don't want to beat it with a dead horse here, or whatever the saying is, but you say you spend a lot of money on social media, and you mean on the production of the content, not necessarily the ads. You said, hey, maybe that's in the future.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I'm rolling that out now. I spend tens of thousands of dollars to pay people to communicate with people like you to and this is new even. So I have a woman who's always sort of reaching out to people to see where can I go in the community to interact with the community, or to interact with other professionals and get a recording opportunity. So just last 2 weeks ago, I went to my alma mater, Albany Law School, and I spoke in front of 30 people. So now I paid someone to make that happen. Then I paid a camera person to follow me through the day, from the car ride up to the law school, come back. Then I paid somebody else to edit it, break that big thing down into pieces. And so, yes, it's primarily production. I literally at times will walk around my community with a camera person, and it takes a certain level of confidence and also disregard for other people's space, and you gotta just kind of go with it and believe again in what you're doing. But yeah, it's a financial investment that I believe will pay off. I think it has. It's difficult to track. So when you're branding, it's hard to say, well, that case right there came from my marketing efforts because that had a tracking telephone number on it, and we can track that. It's more so that I knew that person 10 years ago. There's no way in hell they would know I was a lawyer now unless they saw my video, right? Or, they say to you, hey, I've seen your videos and I saw that one and that happened to me. So I know, but I can't prove it to anybody. And but I think there are ways to do it more cost effectively. If I were a younger lawyer, for example, it's just as important, if not more important, for that younger lawyer who doesn't have a book of business. Maybe that individual can edit themselves on a phone. I started doing this while managing a very busy, thriving law
Right.
practice. And so I had to make a decision. It's just like buying billboards or buying bus wraps or buying space in a newspaper or investing in a newsletter. It's just the cost of doing business.
Yeah, and I think too, one of the things you mentioned, I just want to point out is, and I think Gary Vee talks about this, and I've even heard Grant Cardone talk about this too, that they go to these events to speak on stage, not necessarily for the paid gig or that. They do it for the long form content that they can use forever.
Yes. So I'm into Gary Vee's document, don't create, right? And that's not for everybody. And I tend to think for me that it underperforms in comparison to when you're a talking head and like giving a piece of legal advice, talking directly to the camera. But I don't have time for it. And so Gary Vee's document don't create style is perfect for me. I pay somebody to sit in on meetings with me. I always ask the clients for their permission. My clients' identities are never disclosed. You rarely hear their audio. My clients love this. My clients follow me. They're like thrilled that their meeting is part of my objective. I'm a good person and I treat people with respect, and so people want to help me. But I'm a document don't create guy. I don't have time to dedicate to the camera. It underperforms, but I'm trying to scale up. So if I do 3 a day, it's the same thing as doing one successful thing a day. And I also watch a lot of these other lawyers who, talk about trends, talk about salient legal topics, talk about legal topics that are being discussed in the media. And I think to myself, I'm doing better than you, right? So you may have more likes, you may have more views or more followers, and it just depends on how you measure success. My measurement of success is having a lot of work and make a lot of money and help a lot of local people. And so I don't really want to talk about Kim Kardashian's divorce with Kanye. I don't really want to talk about the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, because that means I have to take time away from my practice or my family to go pay attention to something that means nothing to me. And so I'll take the hit on followers and views and just do my thing.
Yeah, and I think that, and again, that shows your expertise, and the document don't create. Hey, I'm going to this conference. I'm already speaking to this law school. I might as well just repurpose it and share, for distribution and leverage.
I mean, right now on this podcast, with the camera that you and I are using, I've got 2 other cameras rolling. And so one long form is going to go to somebody to be produced, right, and chopped down, and we'll figure out we're going to have some stories up for today. I couldn't possibly do that if I didn't hire someone to do it for me. And also, you got to pick people you like working with. So I pick people that I don't mind having in my personal space. I pick people that are kind and sort of work hard and work on their own. And so it becomes fun, and I think we sort of all work toward the common good. I joke that I am the common good, but the common good is to educate people and let them know that if they experience a horrible accident, injury, or death, that I'm the guy that can help them.
Well, and I'm sure the team behind listening that's recording right now is loving the kudos. So, I'm sure they appreciate that too. I got a couple final questions. I just want to just briefly touch on engagement. Are you spending the time to engage and reply to users' comments? Is it part of your team? Oh, that's all you.
Yeah, and that's another Gary Vee thing, right? So Gary Vee is like big on, if somebody takes the time to post on your video, how dare you not respond to that? I have highs and lows, right? Like I have a threshold. So between the law work, the social media, and trying to be a good dad and husband, I have a threshold. There are times where I'm not as engaging as I should be, but I believe that my 70,000 plus followers on TikTok is largely due to my engagement on some of my early viral videos.
Yeah, that's incredible. I was just curious about that because sometimes people get these like community managers and it's like ghost written your voice, but maybe they don't
Yeah.
have the same expertise.
No, but you know what I do, and I'm even rethinking this, is when I post a video, I don't always write the blurb underneath there, and I want to get that back, because it's not my voice, and I have no idea whether or not that means anything in terms of the video's performance, but I want that back. I want to start having a voice, my voice, be the supporting sort of text that follows these videos, and so we're working out a process for that too.